What's up, everyone? My name is DeltLead, and welcome back to another Kerbal Space Program Faster Than Light live stream. Today, we are experimenting with some new theoretical technologies. We unlocked antimatter in the last live stream, and so we have a couple of engines to play around with that are going to be pretty exciting. We have the antimatter catalyzed fusion engine, which is going to be pretty cool. We also have the Sage air-breathing antimatter-powered engine, which I haven't quite worked out all the kinks on, because it doesn't use regular antimatter. It uses positrons as the reaction mass, and is not quite as efficient as I would have liked it to be. It's very, very, very powerful, but there are some other issues that we need to overcome before we start utilizing it. It does have the advantage of, much like the Rapier, being both air breathing and closed cycle capable, which makes it a very tempting option for single stage to orbit. It's just that storing enough positrons to actually let it run for long enough to get into orbit, I've not quite worked out how to do that. So for now, we're going to stay with the KSP Dagger. This is our single stage to orbit horizontal takeoff and landing, nuclear-powered jet space plane rocket design that we've been using now, pretty much a mainstay of the program. It's done very, very well for us. We have a mission to rescue two Kerbals who are in low Kerbin orbit. Both of them managed to get stuck up there somehow, and now it's my problem, and I've got to get them down. So we're using... that was the wrong one. We're using our... nuclear scramjet. We'll go ahead and cut the Rapiers off and switch them over to closed cycle. We're using this ramjet to accelerate without using any propellant, which is very, very useful of it. It's an excellent option for this kind of vehicle. Green Judo, welcome to the live stream. Yes, you are the first. It's good to have you here. So we're accelerating now, coming up on Mach 2 here in a second. And at 1,200 meters, I'm actually going to pitch down just a little bit, because I want to build up a little bit more velocity before we hit the upper atmosphere. There we go. Okay, now we'll start pitching back up. Hitting 1,000 meters per second, really starting to see that atmospheric heating effect. And the engine's thrust should start coming down. There it is. We'll light the Rapier's liquid breathing mode this time. And continue to accelerate. I'm going to use as much thrust as I can out of this. We're at 400 kilonewtons and dropping. So it is losing efficiency as the air gets thinner. Eventually we'll cut it off. 200 kilonewtons. The Rapier's producing quite a bit more. 180 kilonewtons each. So these are now what's primarily pushing us. We'll go ahead and cut the nuclear ramjet off as we accelerate into orbit here. Got plenty of delta V to make it. I'm going to go ahead and just go prograde. Nicely done. In fact, we'll go a little under prograde. It was pitched up a little, maybe just a bit too high there. So we're going to go under prograde. And our goal first is to rendezvous with Defred's derelict. And then there's one other wreck, one other ship. Genegus over here. Those are our two stranded Kerbals. Piloting the ship we have, Debris Kerman. She is... she's flown more Dagger missions, I think, than anyone else in the program right now. She is somewhat of a veteran of the platform. One of our most experienced pilots. We'll pitch down a little bit more. We've got 1,000 meters per second of delta V, more than enough to finish this. Not worried at all about getting to orbit. At this point, I'm just trying to control apoapsis so that I don't exceed periapsis of the target. Still steadily climbing up. We are going to have to do a plane change maneuver as we come up here. Almost out of the atmosphere now. Very nearly out of the atmosphere. And this should help flatten our trajectory a little bit and get it lined up a little better here. Okay. All right, apoapsis is starting to climb. We're just going to let time warp do its thing here. And come all the way up to apoapsis, a little bit past apoapsis, that's fine. Throttle up again to get into orbit here, about another 100 meters per second. That'll leave us with a little around 300 meters per second total delta V to work with in orbit, a little bit more. Okay, so that's periapsis right there. Now let's go around for revolution. I want my periapsis to actually be right here. I can do that relatively easily just by burning slightly below prograde. That'll push this apoapsis up. His apoapsis is 85. Mine's now 85. Not quite lined up, but it should be good enough. We'll go around for a revolution here. Just keep an eye on my consumables. Waste heat is building up. The reactor does need cooling, but it should... steady state should be fine. We'll go ahead and kick on these graphene conformal radiators. They'll help mitigate waste heat buildup a little bit. So I'm going to come back around and at target periapsis. Well, actually, let's start by doing a radial inburn. And this will push my orbit altitude down here and push it up over here, which is kind of the goal. Let's wait until we're lined up a little better, right about there. Just an approximation. Okay, that's pretty close. We'll go prograde now. I'm going to split between prograde and radial in here. There we go. There we go. Now my periapsis is pretty close and similar. We'll go prograde again. I'm going to raise up my apoapsis, and we'll let the target start drifting towards us. So we've got an intersect over here, and you can see that intersect starting to close in as we raise our orbit. That's what we want to see. If I can get it inside 5 kilometers, I'll be happy. About 9, looks like we'll need to do a plane change. So we're going to hit our descending node right here. I'm going to burn normal to my plane of orbit, and that will rotate my orbital plane to be more in line with the target. So we'll go ahead and time warp now that I'm lined up. Let's just clear off all this clutter. So you can see my orbit is slightly angled, slightly downwards. Pretty close. Not a huge plane change, just a slight adjustment here. Raise it up. Now that it's more in line, and our intercept now is 1 kilometer. That's perfect. So we're going to switch to target frame of reference. Go retrograde. And as we pass above, the capsule that we're trying to rendezvous with will close in below us. And as we approach our intercept, I'll just cancel out the relative velocity between us, and that'll be our rendezvous. 28 meters per second of delta V to cancel out, 228 left in the tank, more than enough. Now, the second part of this intercept, once we cancel out the relative velocity, that's close enough. The second part of the intercept is going to be switching over to our target of rescue, which is Defrid Kerman. He's a pilot. She's a pilot. Right there. We're going to go ahead and control her, and I'm just going to burn towards the ship. 25 meters per second relative velocity with her RCS thrusters on board. Line up that vector, and we're going to drift towards our ship. Nice and easy. All right, 1 kilometer away. She is in unassisted flight. And as we get closer, use my RCS thrusters to reduce our velocity a little bit. Ah, Avery, welcome. Hello, it's good to have you here. 150 meters away. I'm going to have her pass along the top of the ship here. And slow down the rest of the way. And here she is. Come along the top of the ship. And we'll have her get in the actual pilot's seat, because she is a pilot. She can get a little bit of experience with the dagger, see how it's done in the cockpit here. We'll have her board. So that's 1 of 2 Kerbals rescued. Let's select our next target, which will be Gennegus right here. We'll set that as the target. We're pretty much matched in orbit, which is good. It makes the next part easy, because we're going to come around here, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to lock prograde, and then at my periapsis, which looks to be pretty similar to the targets, we will do a burn. Yeah, right about here. Now, I'm not going to be able to do a rendezvous in a single orbit. I think that would take maybe just a little more fuel than I'm willing to spend here, because we do need to deorbit. But instead, I'm just going to raise it slightly, and then we will start to get closer and closer to the target. So, Gennegus' capsule is the 3rd one in the stack here. And pretty shortly, about to be the 2nd one in the stack. Okay, so now Gennegus' capsule is the one that's directly behind me. We'll pass over one more time, and then we should adjust our orbit. You can see every time we come up to our higher orbit, we're moving slower, and that longer path we're taking allows the capsule to catch up to us. So on this next pass, the intercept should be slightly ahead, which it is, which means it's time to burn. Okay. Go ahead and throttle up. Intersect 2, separation of 80 kilometers and closing as we reduce the apoapsis of our orbit. We're already lined up on the plane, which is good. It makes it easier. 0.7 kilometer intercept. That's pretty good for me. Switch back to target. And as we fall back down, our relative velocity is going to decrease because we're going to be approaching the same altitude in orbit. And that's about it. So we're going to go ahead and lock retrograde to target. Let me get a little closer this time. So I'm going to burn retrograde. But I'm also going to burn in such a way that my intersect gets closer to the target. Okay, that's close enough. 0.4 kilometers is plenty. We'll just cancel out the rest of this velocity here as we get closer. Right about here looks good. Switch to the view of the ship. And 200 meters away, there is the ship right here. And Genghis, another pilot. Excellent. We'll have him. Yes, it is a male Kerbal this time. So Genghis. Gennegus? I guess it would be more like Gennegus than Genghis. He's going to fly over now to the KSP Dagger. And as soon as we get in range, we'll have him board as well. Okay, and we're up. We'll have him board the crew module. Have him grab on and get on board. There we go. We've rescued both Kerbals. Defrid and Genegus. And then we will see where our Kerbal Space Center is. It should be right there. So I'm going to come around to the opposite side of the planet here. We'll go retrograde to orbit. And drop our periapsis inside the atmosphere. There we go. Ship is swinging around, pointing its engines retrograde. We'll do a burn for probably most of our remaining oxidizer here. We still have plenty of liquid fuel for the jet engines, but all of our rocket fuel is about to be expended. And that should do. We still have 22 meters per second, which is great. I'm going to lock radial out now. We're going to enter our belly flop orientation. This orientation ensures the highest drag coefficient as we pass through the upper atmosphere. This will help us control our reentry more efficiently, more rapidly decelerate us as we come into the lower atmosphere. So that is the belly flop right there. And then we'll just wait until we hit atmosphere. That's the first impact with atmosphere right here. Can't time warp anymore, but we can still maintain 4 times time acceleration as we go through this upper region of the atmosphere. I'm going to maintain this belly flop for as long as I can hold it, and then we will go to a more traditional reentry glide slope. Clocky Clock, welcome. How are you? Looks like our point of impact is going to be a little short of the Kerbal Space Center. That is totally okay, though, because this is a glider, and not even a glider. This is a powered aircraft at this point. We have plenty of fuel. We can fly it wherever we need to. Looks like the belly flop is not quite able to hold, so I'm just going to manually keep it pitched up. And that reentry is certainly bobbing the ship around quite a bit, but we are able to, for the most part, handle it. Try and decelerate here. I'm going to go down to normal time. Pulling a lot of G's as we decelerate. That's okay, though. And we see the mountains up ahead of us with the sun rising. Yeah, rising over the mountains. Okay, we are now in high altitude, high speed glide. I'm going to go ahead and light the engines. Never mind, the engines don't want to run at this speed. Let's shut down these radiators as we re-enter the atmosphere. There we go. We're going to enter a powered cruise here. Slowly descending in altitude, not trying to descend too fast because we do have a little ways to travel. We'll actually switch over. I'm going to shut down the rapiers. We're going to use the ramjet for propulsion. Just want to maintain this speed, not decelerate too fast. Definitely don't want to accelerate. Where am I on? I'm not even that far, dude. We're not even like that far away. Barely any thrust needed on this ramjet to keep our speed up over these mountains. Fluffles, hello. Welcome, dude. And I do not need more ramjets. One, the ramjet's really heavy. Like, really heavy. It's a heavy part. So that would cut into Delta V. But two, I straight up do not need it. Let's go surface frame of reference. There we go. Fly very close to those mountains. Davy's being a little bit more adventurous with her flying. You know, mission control is probably telling her you don't need to get that low to the mountains. She says, I don't care. I'm not trying to break hypersonic. I'm not trying to do that. That's the thing. I'm just trying to be very efficient with my design. Like, this plane, space plane, works so well, and I'm not going to mess with, you know, not going to add paint to the masterpiece. Okay. Let's start lining up on the runway here. Yeah, fly safe. It's the mantra. I'm not trying to kill Kerbals. I'm trying to get more Kerbals. We are pretty much far future at this point. We've already unlocked antimatter engines. And so now we're going to start, like, using them. I messed around with one, kind of experimented with one in the last live stream. And it turns out it's really complicated, and I don't fully understand how they work. Let's switch the rapiers back on. Switch the scramjet off. Lineup looks good. Oh, never mind. Lineup looks bad again. Left of the runway. Come on. Idle the jets. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Brakes. Shoots. And we're down. We're down and we're safe. Don't go off the runway though. Stay on the runway. There we go. Do Kerbals come from eggs? I don't know. Maybe I think they're more like plant-based. Like seeds or spores maybe. I think they're plants. And park it. Perfect. That is the KSP Dagger. Beautiful plane with 2 new Kerbals added to the pilot roster. And 2 contracts knocked out in 1. So very, very easy money. Yeah, we've been practicing that landing. So I designed this space plane maybe like 6 live streams ago. We've been running it now for a while. And it's been like our go-to every time we get one of these contracts. And I'm always going to accept these contracts because they give me free Kerbals. And the money is, you know, okay. But Kerbals are expensive. And I want more Kerbals. Don't care about that. Don't really care about that. Science data from the surface of Duna, we can do that easily. 15 asteroids. Threatening Kerbin. Yeah, we can do that one too. Yeah, when they love each other very much. Now, let's keep this PG. So we actually have a couple of Kerbal rescue contracts. We have Carrid, who is in literally the lowest possible orbit around Jool, which makes him incredibly difficult to get to. And if just to add insult to injury, we've got Magdis, who is again in like the lowest possible orbit around the sun. These 2 guys are going to be absolute pains in the butt to get to. These guys are really easy to get to, and I like taking their contracts. It's just a joke. Chill. I swear they're green. They're green. They've got chlorophyll in their skin. I think they're plants. That's not canon or anything, but I'm pretty sure they're plants. How else can they just sit, you know, in a lander with a little bit of light and a little bit of water and just live for like years, you know, abandoned on the surface of a planet? All right. Those dark discussions aside, we are going to start designing our far future interplanetary ship. So we have, sort by cost. Where is it? We have this guy, which this guy is the antimatter catalyzed fusion plasma engine, firmly in the realm of now science fiction, right? Still like theoretically possible if we could get antimatter in real life. But since antimatter is impractical, near impossible to generate, this is far future technology, right? Now, this thing's cool because if you look at its thrust, 500 kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum is pretty good, with an engine ISP of 10,000. Now, this is kind of a lie, but it gives you some like general idea of what the engine performs at, because we can configure the different fuels more to our liking, we can actually control the thrust and efficiency of this engine based on the propellant we give it. Where are we going with this engine? Well, we're going ideally to rescue those two Kerbals who are in literally opposite ends of the spectrum of places to get to. Low sun orbit, and then Joule, which is, you know, at the very edge of the system. So we need a rocket that's going to be super efficient to get us there. This one running liquid hydrogen, you can see propellant liquid hydrogen has an ISP multiplier of 1. Vacuum 83 kilonewtons, so lower thrust. This thrust is on par with our current nuclear engine that we have, the gas core one. However, the efficiency is 43,000, which is much higher, and also it doesn't go down with heat the same way. And then we can flick through different options here. So liquid hydrogen is an option. The base game liquid fuel, 165.9, so over double the thrust, less than half the efficiency. And there are heavier fuels, like liquid methane's pretty heavy, 234 kilonewtons, 15,467 seconds of ISP. So this is like a good high thrust burn fuel. Hydrazine, monopropellant are both like on the heavy side. Where's the lithium hydride's another really efficient one. Lithium itself is again that higher thrust. This is a much higher thrust. So my plan for this engine is we give it two different tanks. One is liquid hydrogen, and that's going to be kind of our cruise fuel, you know, our high efficiency slow engine. And then when we need the extra kick of thrust, we can switch over to the higher thrust fuels and get a lot out of them, right? Now, let me see where my fuel tanks went. Sort by name to get them grouped up. Here we go. So we can throw this cryogenic fuel tank on, and that has 60,000 units of fuel. And it can be whatever fuel I want. Again, I can configure this to the specific fuel that the engine wants. So liquid hydrogen for this tank. And that gives us 83,000 seconds or meters per second, which is a lot. That's a lot of delta V. You know, that is a lot of delta V to work with right there. So we can do that, and then we stick the not this one, this one. We can stick the advanced mobile processing lab on it as our kind of main cabin. And then, wait for it. Where is it? So I'm a little torn here. We could use the crew habitat. And this increases, but this increases the mass a lot. This weighs 3.9 tons. How much does the hitchhiker weigh? 2. It's actually not, it's not that much more, really, if you think about it. Well, shoot, now I'm torn. Because the other idea I had was to throw a couple antimatter collectors on the front. Right? And call it good. Decisions. How do we want to play this? 8 versus 4. No. Do we need 8? 8's a lot. I guess, here's my other thought, is we could... No, we don't need 8. We don't need 8. Get rid of this. Just get the smaller one. There we go. Okay, that's more reasonable. And then we just need, a command module of some sort. Well, I guess the other option, right? Because I've been using the cupola. But I could... 3 and this. I think I do want to use the cupola. Okay, never mind. I'm always indecisive about these things, but we'll keep it with this. That's what we've been doing, and it works. No gravity rings. No. So this isn't interplanetary or interstellar, right? We don't need long-term Kerbal habitation. This is a ship to go out and rescue those 2 guys, and then also this ship will replace our current exploration ship, right? And what I was kind of thinking we do is we launch it all in one go. So like the other one was constructed in orbit, right? And that was the big challenge, was we had to throw it up in multiple segments. But because the efficiency of this engine is so great, I think we can get away with throwing it all up in one, because it's heavy. Don't get me wrong, it's heavy. 16 tons, most of the weight's in the engine right here. But the gas core engine we were using, open cycle gas core, weighs 4 tons more, and it's quite a bit bigger, right? I mean, that is substantially bigger. So I think we can get away with doing a single stack launch, basically. With that, let's go other fuel tanks. I wanted to see about these wrapper tanks, because I liked the idea of having them attached to the side. Let's go by name. I think the wrapper tanks are at the bottom if you sort this way. Yeah, here they go. What I want to see is, do these tanks, can I put like liquid methane in them? Ooh, I can, and they're cryo. Okay, perfect. Because what I can do is we could do, liquid methane. And that is 7,000 units of liquid methane. These are also, I can like detach these if I wanted to, which is cool. So I want to use a slightly larger version of them. And I want to use 2. How much do these weigh? 15 tons a pop. That brings us up to almost 60 tons. Now we're talking heavy. Now it's heavy. And we still have to get antimatter storage on this. So maybe we don't do the big ones. Maybe we do the small ones. Like this. Because that gives us 14,000 units. Does it tell me the fuel consumption rate? Like flow rate? Not really. No, it doesn't. Suppose not. Okay. Liquid fuel, diborane, liquid methane, 234 and 83. Yeah. I think we can work with that. That brings our total mass up to 34 tons, which is within reason. Now, these things hold a ton of antimatter, 10,000 total. But if I scale them down, they become far more affordable. And we'll just put a little bit of antimatter in them. Just enough to get the rocket going, Probably also want to store the antimatter close to the engine and as far away from the Kerbals as possible. I think they would appreciate that. Now, there's a cheaper fuel tank for antimatter, I think. Maybe I want to experiment with it first. Yeah, that's cheaper. Does that hold more, though? 17, 15, 37, 50. That does hold more. Ooh, okay, so maybe we do this. I mean, the antimatter alone costs as much as the rocket just to fill it up. But we could put, like, a little bit of antimatter in there. And then just for aesthetics purposes, I'm going to clip them in slightly. Like that. Or, hear me out. What if we do this instead? So I have antimatter collectors, right, as an option. The deployable one. Now, the deployable one's big, but if I scale it down, and it's not quite as big, to where it's more like that, and we rotate it like this, yeah, that doesn't look terrible now, does it? So then they deploy and extend outwards, and when we go to Joule, we can top off on all of our antimatter. No sweat. Right? What do we think about that? Does that look good? I think it looks good. So we're going to use it. So that's our antimatter. Taken care of. Plenty of antimatter, plenty of fuel. Good to go. So one mistake we made on the last ship we designed, right, was we didn't have a relay, which prevented us from being able to communicate with satellites that we deployed. Huge oversight on my part. Tragic oversight. We're going to correct that this time. I'm going to put little relay dishes on this. There we go. They'll sit there like that. That looks nice. Electrical power is the other thing. So the antimatter engine, I don't think generates electrical power. So we're going to need a form of electricity generation. I'm tempted to use the nuclear reactors. And I think maybe we could put 2 reactors on board. We scale these down, though. What's our weight at? 43 tons. How much does this generate? 61.88 megawatts. Generator capacity 27.84 megawatts. It's within, I think that's within reason, right? We have a couple other reactors that we could use, the molten salt reactor being one. But I don't know if I can scale this one as nicely. One, how much does it weigh? Because now we're in the discussion of weight management at this point. And then, do I actually need that much power? I don't think I do. So I'm going to choose the cheaper, lighter reactor. Buys the more expensive, heavy reactor. How much does this weigh? That brings us up to 45, so 4 tons. 1.5 tons. Yeah. We'll do these. Do they look as good? Not quite. But they are, I think, more within the bounds of what we need. Thermal management, definitely going to be a thing to consider with this design. We had these titanium semi-foldable radiators, which I liked. 360 kilowatts of core heat transfer. But I think 4 was not quite enough for the gas core engine. I'm going to try 6 this time. That doesn't quite mount as nicely as I'd like it to. What? Why would you do that? Stand by. Stand by for corrections. Let's scoot these up a little bit. Maybe we put the reactor on the bottom, away from the again. I'll put the reactor away from the Kerbal, shall we? And then we put these here. Extend them. Do they clip? Just barely. Just barely. Let's set this aside for now. What we can do to get it to not clip is use a strut. Scale it down slightly. And rotate it into place like that. Now we can attach these directly to these struts here. That looks better. Yeah. That looks better. And they just don't clip. They just avoid each other. All right, I think that's good for an entry design. So, top of the ship, looking this way. 76,000 meters per second of delta V. We're gonna do a little test run with this. We're gonna use cheats just as a test, not actually going to use it, or not actually going to use cheats. But I want to verify that everything we've done so far works, makes sense. Before we do that, though, I do want some monopropellant on board. I don't think I need that much, though. Not a full tank. Maybe we just use... Where are they? These guys. Just 4 tanks like that. The other thing I'm thinking of is arrow. That's a purely aesthetics thing right there. Just to cap off these antimatter collectors. Does it add a little bit of weight? Yes, just a little. But aesthetics are worth the weight, in my opinion. And then coupling. There we go. A couple clampetrons. We'll put them over these windows. You don't need the windows. Windows aren't required. We got plenty of windows up here. You got windows in the lab. If you want to look outside, you can go there. I think that's kind of it as far as what we need to make this work. This is kind of it. Let's launch it. We'll use cheats, kick it up into orbit. Oh, hold on. Well, where's our crew? We just got a bunch of pilots. There we go. We got a pilot on board. What do you mean no manned? Oh, well, you're supposed to be in the pilot station, you dummy. There we go. Wait, I'm just looking back through the chat. Clocky, did you call them stupor bowls? Like stupid Kerbals? That's good. That's good. I like that. Okay, let's verify everything works. Let's go cheats. Set orbit. Yeah, set it. Okay. In space, SAS on, prograde. Engine appears to work. So let's look at our consumables. Appears to work, and we appear to be accelerating. That's a good sign. We probably want some reaction control system to be able to rotate this a little faster. So the one thing I do want to verify is that the ISP, the delta V, everything is going to be realistic and like work, you know? Seems like it is. Seems like it's pretty accurate. About 85,000. 85,000 is crazy, dude. That's crazy. That's a crazy, crazy number. Let's switch over to our liquid methane. Lower ISP. However, quite a bit more thrust. A thrust-to-weight ratio of 0.7, which 0.7, that's on the realm of chemical rockets as far as thrust-to-weight ratio goes. But it still has an efficiency of 2,200. That's sick. That's awesome, all right? That's so much fuel. All right, sick. So this works. I think we may actually have overdone it on the radiators. Just looking at the waste heat buildup, it looks fine. So we'll go from 6 to 4 radiators. And I'll do them angled instead of perpendicular. Let's just get these lined up in a way that is aesthetically pleasing. The only other thing I can think of really is just like, are we happy with the aesthetics of it all? You know, do we like how it looks? Do we think it looks nice? Is it going to work? Oh, here's the other engine. Okay, here's the other engine we unlocked, right? So this is the antimatter catalyzed fusion plasma engine. Very, very efficient, right? The other engine we unlocked, which I literally cannot put on this rocket because it costs 17 million, is the beam core antimatter engine. Now this has what I call silly numbers. It runs on solid hydrogen and anti-hydrogen, and it has a thrust of 2582 kilonewtons, which is a lot. That's a very powerful engine, and its ISP is, I got to count zeros. 1, 2, 3, 20,200,000 seconds of ISP. Actual, like, silly. That's like, that's just silly. Maybe that's like end game. We throw this on something and try it out. We literally can't afford it. We need $10 million just to get the engine, let alone we don't have the fuel or the infrastructure to actually use that. But it's, you know, an option, I suppose. I'm thinking struts. I'm thinking we slap some struts here. This is for aesthetics, not actually for structural considerations. I just want to do it because I think it looks good. But maybe it doesn't matter. And maybe it won't work anyway. Can I do a strut like this way? No. Do these wrapper tanks not like struts, apparently? Apparently not. Okay, well, that's a bummer. Maybe we just leave it as is. Ooh, those fold out the wrong way. Hold on. Whoop, there we go. Ooh, 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 ooh. That's what we can do to make this look a little better. I don't love the exposed reactor right here. I think it looks kind of dumb. To add just a little bit more cooling, because you can never have too much cooling, we can add these little guys, which, if I take this off real quick and we put it on top of the cupola, we go 4 times symmetry. We do 1. And we do 2. And we get that to line up nicely. Nope, nope, nope. There we go. Okay. Now we grab this guy. And we stick it on the bottom. That looks cooler. I like how that looks. That looks cooler. Okay. I think we're done. I think we're happy with this. It's got the fuel, my guy. It's a little bit smaller than the other ship. It's actually a lot smaller than the other ship. But that works to its favor because of how efficient the engine is, and it weighs 45 tons total, which means we're going to be able to launch it in one go. Let's add a little bit of science to the stack. I guess we can do a service bay as a way to get the science like tucked in, you know, out of the way of everything. And I want these oriented this way. Then I want this oriented. No, keep going. That way. Okay, perfect. Not perfect. It's off. Too far, too far. There we go. That way and that way. Is that all? Everything's lined up? Everything looks nice? Yeah. Okay, sweet. So we'll put those there. Science Junior. This is going to be pretty similar to the Hermes Mark II as far as design goes. I'm going to add 2 goos. Double the goo, double the fun. Both the magnetometers. Wait. Nope. No! Stop it. Go back. Is that lined up? Yeah. Okay, 1 magnetometer on one side. 1 magnetometer on the other side. Offset that slightly so it doesn't clip into the antenna. So we'll also offset that one slightly to keep it symmetrical. And then we do the regular science shenanigans. So gravity, temperature, pressure, and what we could do, if we wanted to risk it for the biscuit, is we put this bad boy on the back and we do like skim the atmosphere with this thing, you know? We just skim it. Just skim it. Just barely skim it. I'm not going to bring the seismograph or the accelerometer. We're not going to land this thing, so that's out. I will add a experiment control unit, or experimental storage unit, because that makes collecting and saving experiments much simpler. Much, much simpler. Throw that on board. And I think that's kind of it. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. I want to keep the cupola open. Because the other option was we could dock things to the front of the ship, but I think we're going to forego that for now. I do want to put some cargo on board. So there's a couple things that I have found have been handy to keep on me. A full stack of these fuel lines is always a good idea, and also a full stack of drain valves. They have their purpose. They come in handy every once in a while. We'll do 2 full stacks of struts. Again, they come in handy. Full stack of these little Communitron 16s in case we come across something where we want to slap an antenna on it. Again, just it comes in handy. Battery, not so much, but a couple extra solar panels for emergency power. They're good to have. A couple extra batteries, same deal. And then we've got 9 more squares. What we could do for these, right? Endurance time? Kinda. We're getting close. Ooh, we want EVA repair kits. Full stack of EVA science kits. Those are good to have on hand. Extra EVA fuel cylinders. Also, you know, they just end up coming in handy. We could bring some EVA ground science, I think. Let's bring experiment control, weather, goo, seismometer, ionographer. The weather only works in atmosphere. The ionographer only works on planets with no atmosphere. But those kind of cancel out, so we can choose one or the other. And then we actually don't need that many solar panels, because each of these with a well-trained engineer produces 4. So 2 will be plenty. Yeah, that'll be plenty. I don't think I need the conformal storage units. I think that's kind of enough. I don't know. We could bring more cargo with it. If we brought a couple of these, you know. You hearing what I'm saying? What if we did this? What if we put these like this? We had 2 extra storage containers. Yeah. Just a little extra. Okay, so hear me out. Now we have enough to support basically 2 whole science stations. Right? Like we can have double the science. So we have enough to support landing on 2 planets. We would need to bring a lander. Obviously. What am I missing? That. Another ionographer. That's right. Yeah, and then we'll bring 2 of these guys for good luck. Okay. Comms, we have the relay satellite, but I want something a little bit more long-ranged, so we use the 8888. That's our go-to long-range communications dish. That can go on the side over here, because there's nothing really going on up on this side. I'll tuck that in slightly. How's that look? Yeah. Again, tuck it in just a little bit more. Okay, yeah, we can do that. And then as a backup, it's always good to have backup comms. I have learned. So we're going to have 2 little comms antennas on the sides just as an insurance policy. Not really going to use those. Shouldn't need to use those, but they're good to have on hand. Let's close that. Command and control. Advanced reaction wheels. So that we have that as an option. And then I'm going to use 4-way symmetry. That should be fine. I know technically it's blocked by the fuel tanks, but I can't really get away with that now. Can I? Actually, we'll have to do these diagonally. So good news, it's out of the way of the fuel tanks. Maybe we have to... No, it's fine. It's fine. Line them up right there. Wait, why do I keep not getting that lined up right? There we go. I guess they can fire through the truss. The truss is technically hollow, so that works. Yeah, we'll say that works. Okay, what should we name it? Train chart keeps saying endurance. Do we call this the KSP Endurance? I think that's good enough of a name. I like that name. I'll get behind that. KSP Endurance. It's got a good ring to it. Let's see about weight. 48 tons. Yeah, we can get this to orbit for sure. For sure. One more thing for good measure. Remote guidance core. And that brings us up to 48.7 tons. Yeah, that works. Okay, now we need to get it on a rocket stack and pray to God it doesn't explode. And I mean that literally, so start praying, like right now. Like right now. Not a joke. Let's do the 3.5. So I'll use a 2.5 decoupler. Will that fit? Do I need to use a 3.5 decoupler? Or the 3.7? No, we can get away with the 2.5. Yeah, that's fine. But we're going to use the 3.5 fairing to make it not look silly. It still looks a little silly. There we go. I mean, it does. It looks a little silly, I'll be honest. Let's go 3 sides, high ejection force, and turn clamshell eject on. Now, all we need to do is get this into low Kerbal orbit. If it can get to low Kerbal orbit, it can get anywhere. So, this bad boy and the Rhino for the upper stage. Where is it? Rhino. There we go. Big ol' engine. What's the thrust to weight ratio? 0.84? That's coming close. All right, that should work. That should work. It should work. It's heavy. We're putting 48 tons into orbit, so this needs to be big. And then we'll use 1, 2. Here's the real question. Here's the real question. Do we go... No. This one. Do we go like this with it? Do we go like this with it? Kind of Saturn V style rocket. Do we have engines big enough to get the thrust we need for that, though? That gives me 1350. What's a mainsail give me? 1500? It kind of looks dumb, actually, but 1.27. What if we... But it looks dumb if we scale them down, too. Why are these engine pods so oddly scaled? Oh, wait. Hold on. New idea. Can I move them in? Will they line up if I move them in like this? No. Okay. Straight up doesn't. Straight up does not make sense. Is there an engine that this is designed for? No, not really. Because all the 2.5s are too big and all the 1.875s are too weak. Okay, never mind. That doesn't make sense. Sorry, guys. Doesn't make sense. Not going to do it. We're going to do the Mammoth. $4,000. I don't think that's enough to get a positive... Ooh, just barely. 1.18. But the thrust weight ratio is low but workable, but the delta V is too low. And when delta V is too low, boosters. We add boosters. Money is basically no object with this design at this point. So, a couple of Rocco Maxes. And a mainsail, maybe? 13,000. Maybe the Mastodon actually makes more sense for these. Yeah, I think it does. Aerodynamics. Or, hold on. Let's verify thrust weight ratios. Everything works. 1.43. Okay, so that works. And that gives us a higher delta V already. But we can make it better. Because we're going to use fuel lines. And connect the tanks. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. All right, that looks good. Now, let's add my favorite fuel tank, the FLC 1000. Pop it up to a 2.5 scale. These boosters go up here. 1702, 1698, 1.3 thrust weight ratio. That'll work. Let's add strut connectors to the sides. I'm going to go booster to booster and then boosters to core. Like that. Okay, that looks good. That actually looks good. I like that. One more booster to core strut to the top there, like that. And then I can already hear Clocky Clock screaming it. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. We're going to auto strut everything else. We'll go auto strut to heaviest part down the line. Now what auto strut does is it applies rigidness. Like I had strutted these parts together without actually creating a physical real strut. It helps with rigidity of the rocket. And we'll even auto strut the things that I put real struts on, just to ensure that it stays rigid properly. And that should do it. This is our rocket, which I can't even put, even all the way zoomed out, I cannot fit in the screen. Suffice to say it's large, but it is going to get us there. Now, here's my plan, right? We're going to put a pilot on board. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do we put a full crew or do we just put a partial crew on? I'm thinking a partial crew. Dean Kerman, who's one of the engineers we hired. Carfield, scientist. And Defrid, the pilot. Or do we put... Maybe Gennegus. Maybe Gennegus. I like Gennegus. It's got a good name to it. He's going to be the pilot. And yeah, this is going to be our antimatter-powered research ship. We'll rescue those other 2 Kerbals, so we've got room on board for 2 more. Hopefully one of them's a scientist, then we can fill this seat. And then whichever other guy will go in here as a backup crew. Let's launch this bad boy. Please don't explode on the launch pad. Also, game, please don't crash. Please do not crash. That would be disappointing. If it were to crash, this would be the vehicle it would crash on. Oh, looks like so far so good. SAS on, throttle up. Yeah, that's a big old rocket we got right there, but let's waste no time. Let's get it off the launch pad. So, currently accelerating away, 1.3 thrust weight ratio. This stage will last 93 seconds before the side boosters have to go, and then 111 seconds with the remainder of the core stage. These are slightly underselling it because that's assuming a full throttle burn, but we are going to be throttling down. My goal is to maintain a 1.5 roughly thrust to weight ratio. Slightly higher, probably 1.55 on average, cycling between 1.6 and 1.4, 1.5. And that's going to help keep a pretty efficient trajectory. Go ahead and lock prograde now. Let's look at our apoapsis, 5 kilometers and climbing. About what I would expect, what I'd want for this. And yeah, we'll just continue to throttle down here so that it doesn't get too high. Go to ×2 time acceleration. Everything looks to be pretty stable, so not too worried about the thing falling or shaking apart at this point. Apoapsis is 25 kilometers and coming up. We're going to throttle a little lower now, actually. Okay, side boosters are going to get separated here in just a second. Out of fuel. We'll go ahead and kick those free. And just in time to lock on our orbital trajectory. Our apoapsis is now 60 kilometers and rising. Gonna keep the throttles low, actually. And wait until we're pointing more laterally before we start really accelerating here. Ooh. Wobble. We got some wobble. It's okay. We're high enough in the atmosphere that's not going to kill us. Okay. Let's throw RCS on and try and get this under control. No, not wanting to cooperate. Come on, these engines should gimbal. I don't want to blow my whole monopropellant reserve just to point it. I guess let's auto strut a couple of these tanks because these were the wobblers. There we go. All right. I'm going to go stability assist. We're going to point slightly up. There we go. Okay. So we're past apoapsis. We're going to re-enter the atmosphere if we're not quick. But we have the thrust and we have the fuel to recover this. Let's turn RCS off now that we are kind of under control. Okay, re-entering the atmosphere is not what I want. I want to get out of the atmosphere. There we go. All right, this is coming back under control. Thankfully, our upper stage has more than enough fuel. We way over designed the launch vehicle, which turned out to be a good thing. We keep this burning in an upwards trajectory. Okay, now that we've got that back within reason, go point back to prograde and do something a little bit more normal looking. There we go. See? Everything's fine. And the booster stage finally spent. Go ahead and light the upper stage with that Rhino engine. Less thrust, far more efficient. And what my target is actually KSP Clocky Station, named after the infamous Clocky Clock. That is our antimatter production laboratory, and there's already antimatter on board. So we're going to go up here, and we're going to get the antimatter. We're going to get it, and then we're going to use it to fuel the ship. Because I only put a little bit of antimatter on board to try and save a little bit of money. And I don't even know if realistically the amount I put on board is like enough to do even the first burn. If we were to try and leave the planet, like the one thing I haven't experimented with a ton is how much antimatter this thing's going to use. So we need to figure that out. I'm going to use this upper stage to do this circularization, and then we'll use the ship to do the rendezvous itself. Yeah, that's kind of the goal right now. You can see from inside the ship, the view from the cupola looks actually quite nice up here. You can see just barely below us Kerbin as we leave into this higher orbit. Electric charge is good to go. We've actually got a lot of energy storage. I didn't even add batteries. I think that electric storage is just coming from the reactors. Yeah, each of these carry 11,000 electric charge, and they produce electricity. So those two reactors are more than enough to keep the mission powered, right? Let's go ahead and raise periapsis. We'll rendezvous here. And then let's see what our intercept looks like. Okay, so we'll start catching up to them. In the meantime, since we're up here in the upper magnetosphere, let's deploy our antimatter collectors, because we're getting a not terrible antimatter flux. We might as well take advantage of it and have this hardware deployed. And we'll probably keep these deployed for most of the time, with the exception of like atmospheric reentry, or any time like we know we're not going to get an antimatter flux. So, but if we're orbiting a planet with a magnetic field, then there's no sense in not having the collectors out, because that'll help top off our antimatter. And you can see it coming up slowly. We have already collected 1 milligram. I think that's the units it's in. Let's go ahead and finish raising orbit, get our intercept. .6 kilometers. And then we're about to hit the ascending node, so let's go anti-normal. How quickly can this thing turn? Not very quickly. That's fine. It doesn't need to turn super quick. It's not a fighter. But as it turns, we're already past the ascending node. That's fine. We'll make it work. Come on, keep rotating, keep rotating. Oh, shoot, that threw us off. Okay. So 3.1 kilometer intercept. Do I need to go slower or faster to shorten that? I don't know. Let's find out. I want to get this a little bit closer. Just because it's bulky and it's heavy, and I don't want to do like a ton of last minute burns. Okay, this intercept, not as good. This intercept, looking really good. Let's put a thrust limiter on this engine. Make it a little bit more precise. Ooh, 0.1. Oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm so good. And we come up. And we'll pass by once a little farther as we kind of cross in front of their orbit. And then we'll be slightly above them. But then we'll come in for a much closer second pass. And this one's the one that matters. 1 minute, 30 seconds away, relative velocity of 21.4 meters per second. Gives us just enough time to turn. And there's the station right over there. Excellent. We'll do just regular time acceleration here. Nope, not time warp. Time acceleration. There we go. Okay. And we'll start slowing down. Just a little bit slower. Just a little bit slower. As we get closer here. This would actually be a good enough reason to recall or retract these antimatter engines. Or not antimatter engines, the antimatter collectors. Five meters per second, decelerating here. 4, 3, 2, 1. Stage it. Let that separate away from us. Do not want to use the antimatter engine for this at this point. We want to go RCS alone. Where is the docking adapter? Where is it? Somewhere over here. I did remember to put a docking adapter on this, didn't I? Didn't I? Did I not? Whoops. There might not be a docking adapter on this. It does have 1,000 antimatter, so it's full on antimatter. And we have Samlin and Hayden on board. They probably don't need to stay up here. But we'll make them. We'll make them stay up here. Okay. So problem, no docking adapter. That's okay, though. That's okay. We did prepare somewhat for these kind of issues. So let's point at the target real quick. And turn RCS on and switch to docking mode. So what I want to do is start drifting down towards the station. We just need to get close, right? Because I have fuel lines. Maybe, now some might call the fact that there isn't a docking port on this antimatter production station a gross oversight or a failure of planning. I call it just the way the Kerbal Space Program operates. So what we're going to do is we're going to get real close to the station. I'm going to get the ship as motionless as I can manage. Really get it down to 0 velocity, right? Get it in nice and close. We're just drifting towards the station here. And as we drift in, I'm going to cancel out the velocity. So I've got my velocity vector lined up. All it'll take is a quick push backwards to decelerate us. And then I'm going to have Dean Kerman here, our fresh junior engineer, who's actually now a level 1 engineer because he's been to orbit. He's going to get out, connect a fuel line between the science lab and us, and we'll fill up our antimatter. There's 1,000 on the station, so that'll give us 500 extra antimatter to work with, which is pretty good. You know, that's really not terrible. And we just need to get close enough to make it within range of that that fuel line, basically. .1 meters per second. Very, very slowly drifting here. Okay, I think that's close enough. I'm going to turn RCS off. I'm going to EVA Dean here. Now, very carefully, with a great deal of precision and expertise, I'm going to attach. Hold on. We're going to attach these two craft together with a fuel line. Maybe not. Let's try again. Let's try from here. Ooh. Oh, it doesn't work. Do they need to be docked? Oh, no, they have to be docked. Ah, alas, it didn't work. Okay. Well, it's not going to work then. Then we'll just put this away. Worth a shot. Didn't work. Oh, well. We do have antimatter on board, right? We have antimatter on board. The question now is, will it be enough to get to low solar orbit? Maybe. Maybe. It may be enough. We have a couple options now. No, get on the ladder. Darn it. Darn you, Dean. Get on the ladder. There we go. Get in. Get in the ship. All right. Let's turn RCS on. We're going to back away from the station slowly. Turn RCS off. Turn docking mode off. Don't need that anymore. Let's just let time warp here. We'll deploy our antimatter collectors again. Because we don't need to dock and refuel. It's capable of refueling its antimatter on its own. Which is pivotal to the design, right? It's a critical portion of how we design the ship. And we are in kind of the optimal antimatter collection altitude. As far as I can tell, this is the best altitude for collecting antimatter. Around Kerbin, at least. Obviously, Joule's going to be a little bit better as far as time efficiency. But we can scoop up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, we're bringing it in at a relatively decent rate here. Never mind the kind of glitchy screen, but we are indeed collecting antimatter. We have 1.84 on board these collectors. And 794 in here. Let's get up to like 2,000. Also, let's look at what our options are for orbits, right? So we eventually need to go down to Magdis, way in there. Is there antimatter around the sun? Is that an option? Because I just want to know the rate at which we're going to burn this stuff. Right? Because we've got lots of fuel. We don't have lots of antimatter. Okay. I think 1800 is as good as it's going to get for now. That should be fine. It should be enough. Let's go for a burn, shall we? Let's take this thing on its first real run. So I'm going to start our orbit, or start our escape burn out here. We're going to go down to the sun. Right. Let's get our periapsis. We set Magdis's scrap as our target with an apoapsis of 2,347. This burn will cost us 3,000 meters per second. Which is a lot, but it's actually only a small percentage of our total fuel capacity using our higher efficiency engine. Not bad. Really not bad. Let's go lock on the maneuver node here. And once we get lined up on that, there we go. We'll time warp to the maneuver. And I just want to see how much my antimatter gets depleted here. Actual time to start the maneuver doesn't matter a ton. We're using antimatter at a rate of 0.12. Okay. That's not terrible. Really, that's not terrible. And I think we can regenerate antimatter fast enough that antimatter shouldn't, keyword shouldn't, be a limiting factor for the ship. Let's go ahead and time warp. Because I can burn this engine in time warp. That's one of the pros of it. And we started the burn way early on purpose. I don't want to take it much faster than 5, maybe up to 10. But that would really be as far as I'd want to take it. Yeah, it looks like it's really kind of doing the trick here. Total liquid hydrogen, we've spent less than 1,000. Less than 1,000 units of liquid hydrogen, which is awesome. That's nothing. Really, that's nothing. And there we go. We've got our escape trajectory. So now it's just a matter of getting, way down in the sun's sphere of influence. And you can see it starting to take effect there. Can I take it up one more rate? We're using antimatter at a rate of 5.88 per second. Real-time seconds. So we're going through it. I mean, it's going down. But it looks like we'll have enough. Yeah, we'll definitely have enough antimatter to get there and back. Easily. So yeah, that should be fine. And then, if we're still theoretically collecting antimatter. I don't know if there's going to be much in the solar wind or when we get down to the sun, if there will be a lot of antimatter. There might be. It's possible. In which case, we'll have that as an opportunity to collect more. And that should about do it for the burn. Let's take a look. His apoapsis is 2347. So let's get all the way down to his low point in the orbit here. Okay. And I think that's about as far as we need to take it. We'll shut down the engine. And yeah, I mean, this thing way smaller than our other ship, way less fuel required, way more range, way more delta V. We've used up total, 1,500 units of our liquid hydrogen, to get all the way down to a sub-MOHO orbit. That's pretty slick right there. While we are in flight, let's get our scientific equipment deployed here. Let's activate the magnetometer, extend the boom, open the science bay. Now, this is showing us the antimatter flux is going down a lot. Very, very little. In fact, a power of 20 less antimatter here in high Kerbal orbit. And we're not actually even that far away from Kerbal. Effectively zero antimatter at this point. But we're going to be able to monitor, and I'm going to keep this pinned, because we'll be able to monitor that. In the meantime, we'll close these up. They're not doing us anything, so they can go back inside their storage fairings. There we go. The magnetometer will tell us if there is antimatter, and I would guess we're not going to see any until we are in low Kerbal orbit. Way down here. If any. If we see any, it'll be down there. Oh, and in fact, there is a very slight flux that's starting to pick up here. 7 times 10 to the negative 89. But as we get closer, that is starting to grow pretty quickly. To the 45. And I would imagine once we get down here real close. Yeah, there it is. It's starting to pick up. Okay. So as we get close to the sun, our heat is starting to pick up a little bit. You can see these radiators are in fact getting warm. That's okay. That's why we have the radiators on board. They're going to prevent waste heat from building up too much. But the parts are starting to get a little higher in temperature. And let's just get down to the bottom of this orbit. What's our flux at? To the -16? It's not terrible. Let's go retrograde. Now, this rendezvous, honestly, when it's all said and done, a rendezvous like this is a rendezvous like any other one you would do around a planet, right? It's a matter of just controlling your orbital period such that you get in sync with your target, and that's what it comes down to. So we're going to go ahead and light the engine. We are regenerating antimatter, which was what I was hoping would happen. And while we're down here, it's still high over the sun. Jeez. How low do you have to go to get near sun science? Apparently really stinking low. And we are down deep in the sun's gravity well. Well, let's time warp a little bit. We're going 100 times speed. Our antimatter is decreasing. But we're not going to run out. You know, worst case scenario, we're stuck down here for a little bit until our antimatter increases enough. I'm not too worried about that. Okay, let's stop the burn there. Is our orbital plane off by much? A little bit, so let's go normal. And then lock on the normal vector at the descending node. There we go. Descending node is in a couple of days. All the more time for me to gather antimatter. Very, very little to no progress is being made here. So if we want to get antimatter, we've actually got to go down deeper into the sun's orbit. Okay, we're burning normal velocity vector. Not really seeing any change in our orbital velocity, but that's fine because what we're seeing, hard to tell just with the scale of it, but we should be changing our orbital plane slightly. And yes, you can in fact see it. There it is. So we've adjusted our orbital plane sufficiently there. I also just realized we don't have our antenna extended. So we have a very weak signal to the Kerbin, planet of Kerbin. Now we have a very strong signal. That's great. Yeah, now we just let time pass. Okay, and we can see here that we'll be slightly behind instead of ahead of the target on this next pass. So, time to burn retrograde until we get this kind of synced up. Now, the other challenge with this is going to be canceling out relative speed with the rendezvous. Okay. Separation, 80,000 kilometers. Relative velocity of 1,200 meters per second. 1,300 meters per second. Gee whiz. trying to very, very precisely sync these up. All right, 266 kilometer intercept is apparently as good as it's going to get. Which remarkably is actually pretty good. So that's a good rough encounter or rough intersect. We'll have to get much closer, though, for the actual rendezvous, right? So here's the plan. We get to this rendezvous. Switch to target, relative velocity vector here. And I'm going to decelerate. We're going to try and sync up our orbits as we approach them. I'm going to switch fuel types as well. So we've been using the liquid hydrogen. Let's step up to the liquid methane. And it burns antimatter at the same rate, but it burns... it increases our thrust substantially, right? So liquid hydrogen, liquid methane, we have less of it. Of course, we have significantly less of it, but our relative velocity here is dying off quickly. And we're just going to let this burn for a second. This is our high thrust burn. Only using 1.83 liquid methane, 0.12 antimatter. Still very, very efficient. That's the funny part is this is our low efficiency fuel, and it has an ISP of 22,000. So our lower efficiency, higher mass fuel provides orders of magnitude higher efficiency than our best chemical engine, and multiple times the efficiency of our best nuclear engine. This is unfortunately increasing our intersect time. But that's okay, because we're close now to where I can do a planned burn. I don't want to kill out all the velocity just yet. Oh, shoot. Go back, go back, go back. Come back. There we go. All right. Dang it. Stupid scroll wheel, man. It's too far right there. So, what, 258, 257, 210, 120. Ooh. We had a sub 100 kilometer intercept right there. $34 kilometers. 24, 22. That's pretty good right there. Only 20 meters per second to really close in the gap. This is what we're looking for right here. Let's time warp to it. 20 meters per second. Should only take 2 seconds with the liquid methane. So I'm actually going to switch over. Instead, we're going to use our lower thrust, higher efficiency liquid hydrogen. It'll take 5 seconds with this. We'll start the burn now. 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cut throttle. Low throttle here just to get it fine-tuned. 22.8 kilometers, so it was a good intercept. And we'll let time step ahead. This is 4 hours away. Let's go back to retrograde to target. 36 minutes away, 22.8 kilometers, 721.7 meters per second relative velocity. We would not physically have been able to do this mission with a traditional rocket. I actually question why the game would even have a mission like this without also having these kind of technologies not having to be modded in, right? Because this engine, these fuels are all mods. But this contract is base game. And the amount that the contract pays out is just not worth the effort. We're not even going to actually complete the contract because the contract is to rescue the guy and his ship, and I'm just not going to do that. We'll rescue the guy, sure, but his ship is staying here. "13 kilometers. I'm using just a little bit of relative velocity here to tighten my intersect down to sub 10. Just briefly, sub 10 kilometers. Okay. Let's get a little closer. And then we'll finish off our burn at near proximity to him. He's still 282 kilometers away, which is the funny part. Let's get a little closer. Five kilometers away. I'm just nudging the velocity vector onto the anti-grade vector here. 1 kilometers away. Ooh, that's tight. Ooh, that's nice and tight. Okay. 8 minutes until intersect. 225 meters per second. Still got some relative velocity to burn here. There he is, 90 kilometers away. And I'm going to bathe him in a cloud of radioactive plasma. It's good for his health. Ooh. Hold on. He'll probably be fine. Okay, let's close some range again. We have to do this in little increments because if I were to slow down all the way now, it would take forever to get to him. But if I wait to slow down, then I won't have enough time to decelerate before we blow right past him. So that's the challenge. 1.4 kilometers away, 6 minutes away. He's 15 kilometers away right now. And let's throttle up. The remainder here. 0.8 kilometer intercept. 0.7. 30 meters per second relative velocity. That's as close as I want to cut it at this point. We're just going to close in the rest of the way. Final approach. Three kilometers, 2 kilometers. He's starting to pass beneath us here. As he passes these last couple, go ahead and light the engine one more time. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. All right, all relative velocities canceled out. We are now in a matched orbit with this little hunk of junk, with this little idiot on board. Actual moron right here. We'll go ahead and split the rest of the distance right here. The difference, though, is we're not going to use our super duper expensive antimatter catalyzed fusion plasma engine. We're just going to use a regular old cold gas reaction control thrusters, and we're going to fly Magnus, who somehow managed to get stuck in low sun orbit. Somehow, we're going to fly her back to the ship. Let's get her in, get her on board. Here we go. Brakes, 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 brakes. Too far. Okay, let's there we go. Let's slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. There we go. All right. There we go. Get on, get in there. All right, we have Magnus on board. We did get an EVA report from her while she was flying. Can I review that in the lab? No, I can't. That's fine, I suppose. So, we're down in an incredibly tight orbit around the sun. I think we take it tighter. I think we take it... And I'm kind of scared. I'm a little scared to take it much tighter. But I think we take it a little tighter. And see just how low of an orbit we can achieve. Because there's antimatter down here. And antimatter is actually going to be the limiting factor. We've got a lot of fuel. We haven't really touched our liquid methane. We still have plenty of liquid hydrogen. We've got 1,000 units of antimatter left, which is not a small amount, but it's not a ton. So let's watch the antimatter flux as we get into a lower orbit around the sun. 14 days. And I'm hoping this will come up as we do. Yeah, up to 12. Up to 9. Heat is manageable for the most part. Okay. Let's get lower. Let's get all the way down. Temperatures are climbing on the ship, so I don't want to get in a circular orbit for fear that in a low proper circular orbit, we're going to lose the ability to control the temperature. So it's going to be an elliptical orbit. And let's really push this down here. Let's get to sub 1 billion meters. Okay, 989,000 kilometers. It's going to get toasty, guys. Buckle up. Yeah, starting to get warmer. Starting to get warmer. Starting to get warmer. Temperature alarms are going off a little bit, but the radiators seem to be holding. It is toasty down here. Let's go. All right, here's an idea. Let's go radial out to try and minimize the surface area exposed to the intense solar radiation. While we're down here, still high over the sun. Okay, we're not going to get low over the sun. But I think that actually did. That looks like it fixed it. It's just pointing it away. It's still getting a little hot. It's still getting hot. Portions of it are getting hot. It's steady state, able to control the temperature, but it's still getting a little warm. We're sub. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now we're getting the science, all right? So we are in low solar orbit. We are collecting antimatter, right? You can see antimatter flux is going up. This is actually the highest antimatter flux we've gotten so far. We are starting to get some science about it. Why am I not able to process this in the lab, though? Not enough crew. Stand by. Hold on. Oh, are all the crew over here? They are. Well, what the heck are they doing up here? Get in the lab, you guys. You're supposed to be doing research. This isn't a pleasure cruise. You're supposed to be working. Carfield, transfer to the lab. There we go. Okay. Review data. There we go. Process that in the lab. Run magnetometer report. Gravity. Transmit. Gravity. Lab. There we go. Okay. That's bright. Holy cow, that is bright. Let's do mystery goo. Transmit. We'll observe the other one. The other one will go in the lab. Yep. Temperature. Log temperature. Transmit. Log temperature. Lab. Log pressure. Transmit. Log pressure. Lab. Conduct material study. We're doing the whole gambit now. Transmit. Yes. I don't want to look at solid hydrogen no more. There we go. Crew report. Take a crew report from down here. 33 science. Another 205 if we process it in the lab. And then let's have our engineer, Dean, do an EVA report. That's the parachute. We'll take this one and transmit it, and then the other EVA report, process it in the lab. So that brings our total data in the lab up to 1,000. We're getting 8.8776 science per day. Not bad. And it's hot. It's getting hot down here. So let's accelerate time. We are collecting antimatter again. Slowly. Very, very slowly. But we are doing it. Let's go back to radial out, because that was helping. And can I do this without exploding is the next question. Yeah, I can do this without exploding. Okay. So temperature regulations, a little tricky, but each pass is giving me 25, 30 units of antimatter, which is not terrible. Really not terrible at all. So we're able to recharge our antimatter down here. We could, theoretically, we could lower it even further. Maybe we'll do that. Let's wait till we get down here deep. Switch retrograde real quick. Let the temperatures get back under control. We're not going to lower it. We're not going to lower it any lower. But if I can bring this down just slightly tighter. Look at that beautiful plume. Okay. Let's switch fuels. There we go. There we go. All right, bring that down to nice, tight, low solar orbit. Okay. That should be as good as I really want to risk it. Let's go back to pointing radial out, minimize our surface area, because heat is hot, gang. Heat is very hot. It is hot down here. But we'll get our antimatter collectors in a nice, consistent flux of antimatter now. There we go. Now it's picking up real quick. 1200. 1300. 1400. Yeah, this is what we want to see. Now, the real question, the real challenge, right, is can I go straight from low solar orbit to Joule orbit? About as an extreme of a burn as possible. Or do we attempt something a little bit more gradual? So I could, let's set Moho as our target, right? Instead of going straight to Joule, because we've already been to Joule. But what if I went to Moho, right? And the funny thing about Moho is I think I can treat it a little bit like Minmus as far as the maneuver. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see, Moho is right here. And we're going to have to wait a couple more orbits for it to come around because I want to Basically, I want to burn opposite the sun. I think this might be our window right here. I might be wrong, but this might be the window right here. I don't want to try doing an expensive orbital plane transfer, because it'll be expensive. But if we can do a burn right here, this will be all of our liquid methane, and that's fine. It's fine if we use up all our liquid methane. I don't care. Ooh. Okay. Here we go. So that's closest point of approach. Now if we can just... Oh, hold on. Okay, no, this isn't our window. We need Moho to be more like back here. So the other option is we wait until here. Let's try this. This might be an easier way to do this. So I set it right there. We burn. It's going to take a lot of delta V to get out of low solar orbit. But that's okay. So this is the rest of our liquid methane. Theoretically, this is all of our liquid methane fuel. At this point, we switch to the liquid hydrogen fuel, but that's like not an issue. Not really an issue, right? Apoapsis at the ascending node right here, right? Let's get it up right there. Now, how many orbits do I have to wait until I get an intercept? Too many? Doesn't even look close. Hold on. Let's try a little farther. Still nothing? Okay. Dang it, because I was hoping we would catch it where it's coming around here, and then we catch it right as it crosses our plane. And then that saves us an expensive plane change. I guess we can still do the plane change. Right, we can still do it. It's just expensive. Adds about 1,000 to it. Okay. And again, so it says we can't complete this burn. That would be true if we were just using our lower efficiency, higher thrust liquid methane. Again, we still have the liquid hydrogen on board. That combination of fuels will be able to do this. I'm more worried about running out of antimatter. Still nothing. Okay. Well, shoots. What if we just try to burn to get him? I mean, I guess we can still do this, right? So our, 7,000 meter per second burn to get out of this absolute death trap that is low solar orbit. But since we're burning at the ascending node, we can still do it burn here. Oh, all of a sudden that starts getting nice and close. Okay. This works. Not that far. $95,000. We just need to adjust this until it's in range here. Dang flabbit. Oh, there it is. There it is. Found it. Okay. What if I take this down even farther, right? So I just have enough orbital energy to get there. No, that was about it, right? Okay. Oh, man, now I can't get it back. We had it, now it's gone. Come back. Come back, Intercept. It's like right here. There it is. That's too far. Come on, right there. It should be right there. Why is Moho's orbit so hard to hit? Oh, there it is. Okay. Stop messing with it. That's it right there. That's it right there. And this is going to take a lot of fuel, right? Which we understand that. It's going to take a lot of fuel. We know. We're almost back up to the amount of antimatter we started with. 2,000. Okay. Locked on the maneuver node. Full throttle. It's unfortunate, but it's going to take a lot of fuel to make this work, right? Like, we're doing this burn at probably the least efficient point in our orbit, being so close to the sun. But we had to come down here anyway, and I wanted to get that low solar orbit science so that we could say we had it. We should also probably start processing the science we have on board so we can actually take credit for it. We may have enough liquid methane to actually do this burn, too. Now that I'm looking at it, I think we will. We're not even halfway through our liquid methane. Yeah, actually, that's kind of perfect. That whole had actually all worked out perfectly. Look at that. Now we just need to fare this in nice and tight. It's the hard part. $200 meters per second left. 150, 140, 30, 20, 10, 100. $60, 50, 40. Here we go. Nice and close. Here it comes. 25, 20, 15, 10. That's an intercept. All right, that's an intercept. What's our periapsis? I'm going to add a maneuver here. Let's focus view on Moho. This is going to be our mid-course correction burn at this point. I just want to do a low pass, right? Low pass over Moho. A gravity assist would be cool if we could get it. $60 meters per second, sure. Maneuver, warp 2. Orbital slingshot. We're going to attempt it. We're going to attempt it. What's funny is with an orbital slingshot, I think I actually have to decelerate here. Periapsis is 100 kilometers. Oh, shoot. Well, I accidentally deleted the wrong burn. That's fine. I'm at least pointed the right direction, so... There we go. I think that's right, because I want to pass behind Moho. And then here's what's funny about gravity assists, right? Is I think I actually want to be... I want to slow down. Because I think slowing down here kicks my orbit... Yeah, slowing down here kicks my orbit out. That is so much less efficient than just doing this the hard way. Disregard. Not going to do it that way. We're just going to encounter and then burn up. That's fine. That's fine. That's a close enough transfer. We are going way, way, way too fast relative velocity for that to make sense. Unfortunate. Unfortunate, but we'll make do. So we're coming up to our encounter. And once we hit it right here, there we go. That's Moho encounter. Awesome. Let's do some science, baby. So, log magnetospheric data, transmit, process. We're doing everything twice again to ensure that we get the maximum amount of value. Transmit. And then we'll do that one a second time. Transmit. Process. Process. Transmit. Process. Yeah, that's good. And then pressure. Transmit. Process. Now we just have the crew report, EVA report. And the consumable ones. What is our total science at? 3262? That's not bad. Let's have Magnus get out this time. EVA report, keep, store. EVA report, keep, board. Oh, and then we need Carfield actually to get out. And of course you're on the other side. Okay, let's come over here. Now, without becoming incinerated by solar radiation. This is my other theory for why the Kerbals are plants, is because they don't die when you expose them to tremendous amounts of solar radiation. It's because they're plants. They like the sunlight. Transmit. Transmit. Restore. Restore. Observe. Keep. Conduct material study. Keep. Collect. Restore. Collect. Restore. Okay. So now I have all the sciences. Come back. Come on. Get back in there. What are you doing? Stop. Grab it. There we go. Okay. Level up crew. Review data. Process. We're up to 1830 data at a rate of 14.824 science per day. We have 256 science on board. Go ahead and transmit what we've got. It's pretty good. Now we need to rinse and repeat this above low MOHO orbit. We should be able to do a couple rounds of the gravity science. Still over the highlands. One way to see what biome we're passing over you can see it now as we get closer. The different colored regions indicate different biomes. So MOHO's Midlands, transmit, and process. Midlands, still Midlands. And we're going to travel this. We're traveling up relative to this camera view. Let's zoom this out. Not that much. There we go. Highlands again. We've already hit Highlands. Let's go ahead and log it again. Nope, still high over. Okay, now we're traveling pretty fast over its surface. This is not time warp. We're just traveling 8,000 meters per second. We are going to hit a crater here pretty soon. Log gravity data, transmit. Log gravity data. Only got the transmit off. We weren't fast enough. Let's log everything else. Log magnetospheric. Transmit. Lab. I wish I could pause time. This is going by too quick. Already back in high space. Dang, Flabbit. It is such a quick pass. So we only got some of the data we could have gotten. We're just going far too quick. And now we're passing away from the planet. We may get another crater if we're lucky here. Might just catch the edge of this crater. Nope. Maybe the edge of this other crater, or... No, it looks like we're just gonna fall away from the highlands. Ah! Son of a gun. It's unfortunate. I'm clicking this. I'm refreshing this as fast as I can. Oh, we shot right through the gap there. Because this is the lowlands. And we are, unfortunately, just over the Midlands. Oh, my goodness. What a bummer. Okay. Well, it's not nothing. As far as research we were able to get out of that, it's not nothing by any stretch. We did get a couple hundred, plus the stuff in the lab, which is going to be processed slowly over time. Let's... go ahead and get out of MOHO orbit. We'll do one more deep dive past the sun. Collect a little antimatter down here. Not much, but just a little bit. And then we'll raise our orbit up. we go. We could try hitting Eve as a potential next target, or we just get out of a low solar orbit like the one we're in right now. And I think it's time to do that. So let's just go ahead and throttle up. Let's just get out of there, you know, before the entire crew gets cancer or something. And we'll go ahead and raise ourselves back up to a near Kerbin orbit. Not all the way, but just near Kerbin. And we'll attempt to return to Kerbin. This is going to take some time. Instead of doing what we've done for like planetary transfers, we're going to do kind of a hybrid between planetary transfer and a rendezvous, like a satellite rendezvous. So step one is to get out of the gravity well, right? Let's get up here. Now that we're up here, light the engines. We can also put this hardware away. These are not doing us anything right now. All right, engines rolling. And I'm just going to circularize this orbit, basically. Close to circularize it. Get it out of Eve's kind of ring here. That's good enough. And then we'll orbit up here for a while. Reactors are a little warm, cooling off. There we go. Nice and cold. We'll do a plane change maneuver at the ascending node. Far, far, far less expensive out here. Still kind of expensive. You know, it's not free, but not nearly so radically expensive as it was down by the sun. Right about there. Let's go to that. And then we can also... We're not researching again. Gosh dang it, Carfield, you're supposed to be doing research. This is a 2-minute long burn. We'll do it in time acceleration here. There we go. And that hot, extraordinarily high-speed plume of plasma. That plasma is moving near light speed. It doesn't look like it, but it is actually traveling close to light speed at this point. Okay. We've almost burned all of our liquid methane. We've still got a little bit left. I've been using liquid methane since we got down here to the sun, which tells you just how efficient this engine is, because this is my lower efficiency fuel, and I've only burned 11,000 of it. This thing has hundreds of thousands of meters per second of delta V on board. It's almost cheating. Okay, now the maneuver is simple, right? We raise our apoapsis to get up to Kerbin. Just get up to Kerbin, right there. And then we rotate our time of burn until we get an intercept. And it looks like that is our intercept. And we just go to that. Easy peasy. Okay. I feel like this could maybe be time warping a little faster. I mean, I might be wrong, but you know, holy cow, that's slow. Okay, let's try auto time warp now. No, it's still super slow. Okay, geez. Whatever. Okay, here we go. 42-second burn. Start it. In terms of antimatter, we have 1,382 units left. Pretty good. Would we have had enough to get all the way back to Kerbin from what we started with? Yeah, probably. But it would have been a little close, I think. Would have been just a little close. So it's honestly better that we just topped off while we were at the sun. We're going to stop in Kerbin's orbit. Transmit science. And as we come around here, one, this will give the lab an opportunity to catch up on all the research they were supposed to be doing. Transmit science. Now we're starting to make some real science out of this, which is good. Probably get a couple thousand total out of it. Just from one brief flyby of Moho, we get a couple thousand pieces of science from it. Transmit again. Where's our periapsis get us? It's actually pretty good. Let's try to rendezvous with the old Hermes, which is now our orbital lab in orbit of Kerbin. Nope, wrong way. Get a lunar orbit while we're at it? Why not? Yeah, why not? Okay, let's get way down here. One second burn, 15.8 meters per second. Not bad. We will take this ship to Jewel. That'll be our next destination. But before we go to Jewel, what we're going to do is top off the fuel tanks, right? We're going to send a refueler up here. We'll probably do that in the next live stream. I'm not going to do a whole lot more today. But we've certainly demonstrated the ability of this ship. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. This thing 100% will get the job done. Let's switch over to liquid hydrogen. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And that should be a pretty perfect, close to perfect orbit. Let's go ahead and transmit what we got on board. And as we fall towards Kerbin here, Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Down into orbit. Let's go retrograde. Let's burn the rest of that liquid methane. Switch over to our higher thrust fuel. Because I want to get captured here. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Easy peasy. We'll go past here. What's our target orbit? Oh, that was the wrong button. 102, 101. Okay, so we'll get our periapsis down lower here. Man, this thing is awesome. This thing is so cool. And this is like a small ship, too. Compared to the Hermes, which was massive and laggy. This thing is nice and tight. High performance. Super long range. It's great. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong button. There we go. No, turn that off. Go prograde. Let's just flip around and fix that. There we go. Because I want to rendezvous at periapsis. There's our target. Let's go retrograde. Okay, what's our next orbit look like? Perfect. So I want to just slow down from here. Three, two, good enough. Pass up and around. Switch to target. We're going to do this last rendezvous to close out the stream. There they are, up there. And we're still burning liquid methane, which is the crazy thing. We've the whole time we've been using our low efficiency fuel, and it's been crazy efficient. I still like the idea of the setups of having more liquid hydrogen. And I'm not going to change that, even though clearly we could have just done liquid methane and would have been fine for how, how well this performs. The only problem would have been that the mass of the rocket at that point would have been kind of ridiculous. I mean, you're talking like real heavy rocket with the amount of liquid methane that would have been. And I do like the idea of this kind of bipropellant setup where we have an option to switch between the two for different use cases, even though we ended up using liquid methane for the most part during that mission. All right. We are 1.6 kilometers away. Closing in. I think our intercept has us super close, right? Yeah. Very, very close to it. $13, $12, $11, $10, $9, $8, $7. Kill it. Drift a little bit closer before we finish it off. Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good enough. Okay. Set that Clampetron as our target. Control from here. Lock on target. Let's retract that boom. RCS on, docking mode engaged. And we'll use RCS to get in the rest of the way here. Could have been probably a little bit more efficient with our placement of these thrusters. But it's okay. 0.5 meters per second. We're going to drift for a little bit here. I'm going to slow down. Matlone docking trick time. We're going to switch. Set as target. Lock on target. Switch back. Lock on target again. And then it's just a matter of getting close. Easy. Nice and easy in. And this should come to a rest here relatively easily. Nice and gentle, nice and gentle, nice and gentle, nice and gentle, nice and gentle. Oh, could have been more gentle. But it works. So we are docked to the old station. Let's transmit the little bit of science that's left here. Really doesn't look like much. We can transmit the science that's on board this one too. And we do have Dizer, who's probably sick and tired of being on board. So we're going to go ahead and move him over to the new ship. Which will allow us to deorbit this thing because the crew is off. The science is gone. The work is done. We'll back away from that station. This thing is now pretty much free to be deorbited. SAS on. Retrograde orbit. And we are, in fact, going to deorbit it now. Because it's served its purpose. Its time has come, you know? And it served us well. It was a good ship all the way out to Duna and back. But unfortunately, by the time it had made it back, our science had evolved so rapidly that, well, there just really wasn't a place for it anymore. So it's time for it to come home. We're going to use its last little bit of monopropellant here to bring its periapsis down into low Kerbal atmosphere. The probe core on board is enough to deorbit this thing entirely on its own, which is all we really need to do here. And once we've got a confirmed collision, which we do, we can, I was going to say switch back, but I guess we have to select the ship again. Where is it? Oh, did it get renamed to Orbital Lab Gamma? I suppose it did. Well, let's switch back to that. It's supposed to be named the KSP Endurance, but apparently the rendezvous with the lab overrode the name. That's fine. It's not an issue. Here we are. So now this thing is called Orbital Lab Gamma for some reason. Let's configure vessel naming. This is the KSP Endurance, and we'll set its priority to the highest so that it'll override. And yeah, that's that. That's kind of where we're going to leave the live stream tonight. This ship is epic. Truly, like, capable of just about anything. We'll need to refuel. You know, these methane tanks are low. A little bit of fuel left on. We do have a good chunk of hydrogen left over, too. So if we switch over to that, you know, we'll be able to go. We could probably honestly get to Joule with this thing. With the amount of fuel we have left on board. That's just how efficient this engine is. But we will top it off before we do anything else. It'll also give us an opportunity to refuel our antimatter, because we can bring some antimatter up. But thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. This was actually a ton of fun to fly. It's just sick, all right? It's just sick. I should probably control from here instead of controlling from that docking port. There we go. What's our... Hold on. Before we leave, though, we should go ahead and redeploy these antimatter catchers, since we're back in a magnetic field. It won't be a lot, but it'll be better than nothing. And we can start refueling our antimatter a little bit. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. There's a whole 10 people viewing right now, which is pretty sweet. And yeah, in the future videos, I think we're going to take this kind of round the system, really. Not back to Moho. Ah, God, that was actually kind of awful. But to Eve, probably. To Gilly, probably. Duna and Ike again, probably. Maybe not Duna and Ike, because we've kind of tapped them out. Eve and Gilly for sure will go to Drez, maybe, even, you know? Who knows? There's a whole lot we could do. So, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys in a future live stream. Take care, everybody.